Well, we all know that the first foldable smartphone was not the Galaxy Z Fold, it was Real FlexPy. But the first phone that seriously showed this form factor to the world and had it on global sale was the Galaxy Z Fold. This series, the father of foldable phones, has always been the leader in terms of software, but in terms of hardware and form factor, it can be said that it was no longer the best. But what about now? This is the Galaxy Z Fold 6 review, so let's do it. In terms of design, Samsung still insists on its form factor, but with this base we see good changes. The edges of the outer screen are the same on all sides, but well, it is not small. The aspect ratio has become wider and is now 21:9. It's more enjoyable to see the content, but since the basic form hasn't changed, it still feels like a remote control. Now its weight is less and it is only 5 grams heavier than S24 Ultra. Its thickness is also less, but it still doesn't feel like a normal phone. The overall design is more flat and practical. A ring has been added around the cameras, the back panel is Gorilla Glass Victus and it is matte, the frame is flatter and more matte, and it is in harmony with the color of the back panel. Its material is aluminum, which is not a problem due to its weight. Of course, Samsung says that it is enhanced armor aluminum and more resistant than the previous generation. I hope. The hinge of the previous generation was great. Now it is even better and has a more clicky and resistant feeling. It also made it somewhat resistant to dust and achieved the IP48 standard. It is still not suitable for desert travel. When you open the phone, you get a really good feeling. Unlike the outer screen, the edges of the inner screen are very thin and 91% is the display. Like the previous generation, the camera is inside the screen. But when the color is bright, it will definitely greet you. The dent in the middle of the screen is less than the previous generation, but is still completely noticeable and even annoying. You even feel it when scrolling. Samsung says that it has used a material like cornstarch in the screen cover, which is soft when pressure is low and hard when the pressure is high. Okay, but it is still scratched with a nail, so I don't care. The features of the previous generation are also there. There is no gap between the two parts when folded. It also supports S Pen Pro. But you have to buy it separately. The screens didn't change much. The outer screen is Full HD, the inner screen almost 2K, both dynamic AMOLED tweaks, both support HDR10+ content and have a refresh rate of 120Hz, dynamic up to 1Hz. In terms of quality, depth of colors and sharpness, there is not much to say. Both are excellent. But the brightness of both screens reaches 2600 nits, which means that there is really no problem with it. But the square ratio of the internal display is not really good for watching movies and social media. When watching a movie, most of the screen is empty and still many apps are not compatible with this aspect ratio. Yes, I agree that the outer screen with this aspect ratio is great for messaging and non-professional users. But as it gets wider, the inner screen becomes more rectangular, and I prefer it. Maybe you don't. Of course, I must say that it is really good for gaming and reading. The Z Fold 6 stereo speakers have a loud and comprehensive sound. The sharpness and details of the sound are very good, but the bass is less than normal phones. The biometric system still has a capacitive fingerprint sensor on the power button, which is fast and has a good place, and there is no problem with it. The slightly overclocked version of a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 along with 12GB of RAM and UFS 4.0 memory makes up the heart of this foldable. It runs heavy tasks, multitasking and gaming easily, and don't worry about the RAM at all, 12GB is real enough. Samsung has considered a better vapor chamber cooling system for this generation, but there is not much space for heat distribution, and it gets hot, even in some semi-heavy users. In terms of software, Z Fold is still better than other folding devices. One UI 6.1, Android 14, and 7 years of full software support. A lot of customization capabilities, efficient multitasking, optimal connection to Windows and other Samsung devices, All of these has made it the best foldable UI at the moment. Flex mode, where the phone is half open, is still there, but I think it's better for the camera because it gives you too narrow screens, which doesn't feel right. One of the advantages of a more rectangular display. All features of Galaxy AI are here as well, plus some special features such as showing the translation on the outer screen for the other person to see. Of course, these features are free until 2025, and then you have to buy a subscription. The battery capacity has not changed, 4400 mAh, but its performance has improved a little. If you use the outer screen more, it can be with you for a whole day, but otherwise, until the evening. The charger is not in the box, and the charger it supports is only 25 watts, and it takes 70 minutes to fully charge. Not for 2024. You know, the Z Fold 6 camera system is exactly the same as the previous generation and the previous generation, but the processing has changed a bit and is worth looking at. Photos are good in daylight, good detail, sharpness and dynamic range, the colors are slightly saturated and the contrast is high. In portrait photos, the subject is well separated and the color and processing of the face is excellent. In night mode, Samsung did not exaggerate it here. Good details, accurate colors, and good control of highlights have resulted in a natural and beautiful output. The telephoto photos have good detail, the dynamic range is average, but they are a little soft and noise is visible. The color of the ultra-wide photos is close to the other two lenses. Unlike the telephoto lens, the sharpness is too much. The dynamic range is very good and the noise and distortion are well controlled. You can take a selfie with the main lens, but the selfie camera is not bad either. But leave the internal selfie camera only for video calls. Its quality is equal to the iPhone 5. Its wide lens has OIS and has the ability to record 4K 60fps video. The only advantage it has is that it has its own stand. Finally, the price of the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is $100 more than the 5 was. It means $1,800. In my opinion, considering the upgrades, its software, its resistance, and support S Pen Pro, it can be said that if you set aside a lot of money to buy a foldable, it can be a good choice. But I can't give it a complete advantage. Its price is too high, its form factor may not be the best, at least in my opinion, and it doesn't have the best camera among foldables. I think you can still think about OnePlus Open 2. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like it, and if you like my content, subscribe to my channel. Goodbye, see you next video.